The U.S. military just blew up 11 people on a boat in the Caribbean Sea. Now, they were probably criminals, but there also wasn't a trial or any sort of evidence presented. Instead, you just had the Trump administration calling them narco-terrorists and saying that this is the beginning. And you've got all of that raising concerns about a possible military confrontation with Venezuela, which, let me explain. Right, so we actually first learned about the attack during Trump's address at the White House yesterday, where he was announcing Space Command HQ in Alabama. Also was kind of a little bit of a proof of life, but he said,
when you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat.
And then you quickly had Secretary of State Marco Rubio giving some additional information on a post on X, writing, as POTUS just announced moments ago, today the U.S. military conducted a lethal strike in the southern Caribbean against a drug vessel which had departed from Venezuela and was being operated by a designated narco-terrorist organization. With then Trump posting a video on Truth Social that appeared to show the strike, then alleging that those targeted had been positively identified Tren de Aragua narco-terrorists, and adding, the strike occurred while the terrorists were at sea in international waters transporting illegal narcotics heading to the United States. The strike resulted in 11 terrorists killed in action. Right, and all of this very notable for a number of reasons, including that this is a massive shift away from how the U.S. would normally deal with it. Because in the past, American authorities have focused on seizing the drugs, identifying suspects, building a criminal case, and not just blowing them out of the water. And at least according to Trump, there's more where that came from. And while a senior official also told the New York Times there would be additional attacks against cartel boats in the future, notably, the White House still hasn't explained how the military determined that those aboard the first boat were actually cartel members. Plus, you're seeing defense officials declining to address almost any questions about what went down, including, one, the amount of drugs on board, two, whether they tried to stop the boat first, communicate with it in any way, or otherwise give them a chance to surrender before striking with deadly force, and three, what legal authority they're using to justify the strike. And with all that, you have experts saying that this may be a violation of international and human rights law, though to be fair, it's not necessarily one that we didn't see coming. Because back in July, you had Trump signing a secret directive greenlighting military force against those drug cartels that his administration had deemed terrorist organizations. And since then, you've had the Pentagon bolstering their presence in the Caribbean, sending warships and thousands of troops to the region.
Do you think it's an accident that Venezuela is always the example right-wingers use about a bad government? I don't. I think right-wingers have been preparing for years to undermine and attack Venezuela, and Trump just has the balls to do it. Because they have extraordinary natural resources that America wants. And we have interfered with their elections and their democracy and their government hundreds of times. We've just been mostly unsuccessful, but you only need one. It's not because we're bothered by like a bad socialist government. Thousands of people are starving every day. Our tax dollars are going to slaughter hundreds of thousands. We don't care about people that would be struggling in Venezuela. It is because Venezuela has resources, a shit ton of oil and natural gas, that we want. So don't let them, for 2 seconds, convince you this is about anything more than America imperializing this territory. It's not about protecting America. The vast majority of drugs that kill Americans come from America. And the vast majority of people that become drug addicts, who are the people we're protecting right now, quick reminder, become addicted because of medicated drugs that are super profitable. No, this isn't about the drug cartels. This isn't about helping the Venezuelan people. It's about American imperialism. And he knows that he's going to get caught because he's doing right about everything he can to distract from it.
MAGA wants war, and they're willing to commit war crimes to make sure said war happens. If you didn't know, the United States military destroyed a Venezuelan boat in international waters. Now, they could have captured the suspects and proven the case that they were cartel runners in court, but instead they just blew the boat up, unaliving everyone on board. And that's an execution. So by doing this, the United States acted as judge, jury, and executioner without trial. And that's not just military aggression. That's stripping people of basic human rights. Now, unnecessary military escalation and denying suspects due process are both considered war crimes under international law. And Maduro is calling it an act of war and has sent 15,000 troops to the border. And MAGA, they're cheering it on. The same people who scream about being anti-globalist and anti-regime change and anti-the world's police are now cheering this on. Look, you can't claim America first while breaking international law and dragging us into another endless war. That's not strength, that's hypocrisy. If you made it to here, let me know what your favorite color is in the comments. Can't wait to see.
At his 2 p.m. Oval Office speech today, Trump announced that the U.S. had carried out a lethal strike on a Venezuelan ship in the Caribbean. He called it a drug vessel tied to narco-terrorist group. But let's not miss the bigger picture. This wasn't just about drugs. It was about power projection. U.S. warships already circled the Caribbean. Venezuela is now deploying troops and militia and calling civilians into militias to join it. And once again, drug bust language covers for a display of empire-style dominance. The U.S. isn't acting like a nation defending its borders, it's behaving like an empire, flexing control. But what do you think?
But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago. And our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing, and you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please?
So a massive story broke just before the holiday weekend, but hardly anyone is talking about it, and that really needs to change. So as I'm sure you know, Trump has promised over and over again to never touch Medicare.
I'll save Social Security. I'll save Medicare.
Well, guess what? He lied. Because on Friday night, he and Dr. Oz, who's the administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, confirmed that they are going to fundamentally change Medicare, and not in a good way. They are launching a pilot program that will require senior citizens to get prior authorization for some healthcare services, and here's the kicker: artificial intelligence will decide whether their procedure is approved or not. What could go wrong? To quote this Truth Out article, prior authorizations already exist in the privatized Medicare Advantage system and with standard private insurance, and we know they cause delays and denials of critical medical coverage. They're a nightmare. Now, in case you didn't know, traditional Medicare rarely asks for prior approval. That's why it works so easily and well. That's why we love it. But Trump doesn't want us to have nice things. Oh, wait, and I haven't told you the worst part yet. These AI companies will be paid based on the value of the procedures they reject, meaning AI companies will profit from denying needed care to seniors. So literally, the more claims they deny, the richer they get. It's like a cash incentive to deny your claim. These companies donated massively to help Trump get elected. Now they're getting paid back at our expense. It's disgusting. And the outcome of all this is that your grandmother or your dad or your sister or even you could lose a vital medical service because a computer decided that it wasn't worth covering, even if your doctor said it was. These AI pre-approval programs are going to roll out this January in 6 states listed right here. The pilots will reportedly be limited to about 17 procedures to start, but if they achieve their goal, denying your healthcare and making AI companies rich, they'll expand to more procedures and more states. Do you remember when the GOP invented the term death panel in the scare campaign to stop the Affordable Care Act? It was false, but we never heard the end of it. This, on the other hand, is actually happening. Trump is rolling out AI death panels. He should never hear the end of it. So call your members of Congress and tell them that it's not okay. And share this story far and wide so people can make a lot of noise. Every promise Trump makes, he breaks. Don't let him break Medicare too.
Let's talk about this alleged drug boat that Trump blew up in the Caribbean yesterday. So Trump is saying that there were some drug runners from Venezuela coming to the U.S. to bring their drugs in, and he blew up the ship and killed 11 people. We don't know that story is true. Marco Rubio said yesterday the boat was actually going to Trinidad. Today, Rubio's saying, oh, no, the boat was coming to America. Who knows? We also don't know if they were drug runners or not. Trump is saying it, but I don't believe him. I'm kind of divided on this story. I'm going to tell you why, though. I have no problem with using drones to go after bad guys in Afghanistan, for example. And you could argue, well, what's the difference, right? I mean, that's meting out justice. They didn't go to a court of law to convict him. They just took the guy out in Afghanistan. Okay. Having said that, in Afghanistan, when we were doing it, we didn't really have a choice. It's not like we could just send soldiers in to arrest all these terrorists all over Afghanistan, right? So you didn't have a choice but to use drones. in the Caribbean, or we do have a choice. We could use the Coast Guard. That's what we use. When boats try to come into U.S. waters, the Coast Guard arrests them, and that's the end of that. So I have a little bit of a problem with that. I also have a problem with, am I to trust Donald Trump's judgment as to who the bad guys are in terms of random boats he blows up in the Caribbean? I mean, I don't trust him. I think he's kind of not very good at this. So that concerns me a little too.
So Trump, in his undeadness, is claiming that he sent a militarized strike to a vessel in the middle of international water, unaliving 11 people, which he claims were on their way to the U.S. with illegalities. For anyone who doesn't understand what that means, that action right there is a declaration of war. And you do not have to be an expert on international waters. I'm just going to let you know that is illegal. That boat, that vessel was not near or on U.S. shore. There is no single global police force when it comes to international waters. So if a vessel or a boat is in the middle of international waters and they're not actually on your shore or on your waters, you cannot singularly police that vessel. And the United States just did. A Venezuelan vessel. And do you all know who Venezuela's allies are? China, Russia, Iran, Cuba. And let's be very clear, this isn't about any illegalities that they're bringing to the United States or about any gang. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the entirety of the globe. Yeah.
On Tuesday, Trump had the United States military blow up a boat in international waters. He claimed that there were 11 members of Tren de Aragua on board, along with fentanyl. Venezuela claims that the video of the boat being blown up is AI. None of us can know for sure what really was on that boat or who is really on that boat because they got blown up, allegedly. This is one of the reasons why we have due process. Why we don't just blow up boats in the middle of the fucking ocean is because we have to make sure that the people we're unaliving are guilty. For all we knew, maybe there were Tren de Aragua and fentanyl supplies on that boat, but maybe there was also a couple of kids being trafficked. We'll never know. Because apparently the United States military is so weak and incompetent that they can't intercept a boat in the water and prevent them from landing in the United States with, their drugs. And make no mistake, Donald Trump is basically a hair's breadth away from declaring outright war on Venezuela. And while I don't have any love for the Venezuelan government, I think that there's a lot of places in the world that are problematic, including the United States of America, and people shouldn't just be waging war because they don't like something that's going on in that country. But don't forget, Donald Trump is very intrigued by the idea of having a nation at war because he thinks it's a reason to suspend elections. And we all know that's something he wants very much.
Breaking news. Donald Trump is crushing the U.S. economy. ADP, Automated Data Processing, reported that only 54,000 private sector jobs were added in August. What? Only 54,000. They were expecting 75,000, and this is down from 106,000 that ADP reported in July. Donald Trump's tariffs and his immigration policies are crushing the U.S. economy with skyrocketing prices, skyrocketing inflation, and other problems. Many companies are laying off. Jobless people applying for jobless claims this last week increased to 237,000 people, up from 8,000 people applying for unemployment the week before. What? 237,000 versus 8,000 the week before? That is a massive increase, Donald Trump. Why is that? Why are all these companies laying off and not hiring? Donald Trump, this is you and your economic policy that's getting us here. I thought you were this brilliant businessman. How many times did you file bankruptcy? 6. You ran casinos in the ground, right? How many other companies went out of business because they didn't do well? And how much did you increase the deficit the first time you were the president? More than any other president in history. 25% of the entire deficit the United States had is because of you giving tax cuts to the rich. So there you have Donald Trump's business ability. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned out light bulbs. And been spending $200 million on a ballroom at the White House. Right. Love to hear from everybody.
for our diaper-wearing, dementia-ridden dictator to get up on his social media app and post the last moments of 11 Venezuelans that he gave the okay to blow to smithereens in the middle of the Caribbean in international water where we had no jurisdiction as a country. And then for all y'all stupid bitches to get up in his comments and be like, LMAO, why is he posting this? Like, it's like instant replay, like Call of Duty kill cam. This is why we say that we are in an illiteracy crisis. Not only because of the fact that you bitches cannot read or write, because you fucking can't, but because of the fact that you don't have the capacity to understand or question why you're being shown what you're being shown, or what even it is that you are being shown. You're just there for the entertainment. And these senile old fucks, all of whom are probably incontinent, who can't hold their own shit inside their asses, are relying on you dumb fucks to just be satiated enough, to be entertained enough to not give a damn, to not care anything more about it than just like the 30 seconds that it distracts you from the video that you just swiped from, and that it will take away from the video that you're going to swipe to. Like, they're relying on you not thinking any deeper, not believing that it's any deeper than the curtains or the walls just being blue. Because it is. It truly is. And they have systemically tried to make it so that you're incapable of thinking any deeper. We're seeing it with people like who are youth, children, teens, but as well as a significant portion of the adult population. Because again, you bitches cannot read or write or think about what the fuck it is that you are reading or writing. You just, at this point, your brains are on autopilot and responding to like triggers in conversations, trigger words and things that like your brain feels comfortable operating in. Because if it were different, y'all would not be talking about that. You would be talking about the implications of bombing a boat, a vessel full of 11 citizens from a different country in waters where we had no say, no jurisdiction, no reason to not only really be patrolling there as we were, but like to even act upon that boat, to bomb them. Again, they're not testing the water around the wreckage to see if there was fentanyl or cocaine or what the fuck ever. Donald Trump does not care. He simply does not care. This was incredibly malicious. This was fully malicious. Because again, who was fucking pumping crack into the black neighborhoods? It wasn't Venezuela. It was not Venezuela. So if 11 Venezuelans deserve to die for bringing, quote unquote, bringing whatever they intended to bring to the U.S., then I feel like every single person in the FBI and the CIA, as well as every branch of the United States government that had anything to do with the crack hitting our neighborhoods and our communities should also die. Like, it's only fair operating by that logic, and y'all should equally not give a fuck about those folks dying either, if you don't give a fuck about the 11 Venezuelans that just got blown up extrajudicially.
Gavin Newsom has completely neutralized Donald Trump when it comes to him trying to do personal attacks on really anyone at this point. But when he tries to do them against Gavin Newsom, he's going to be met with a swift response. And that was displayed yesterday. He said something about Newsom's hands, his hand movements, and Newsom was quick to fire back. Check this out.
Gavin, he's got some strange hand action going. I don't know what the hell his problem is.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, bro.
When it comes to physical appearance or any personal attacks against Newsom, Trump just better stand down because it's not going to work. People aren't buying it, and it's just going to be reversed and make him look worse. So this is an example of this. And let me know what you guys think about this. This is just brilliant strategy by Newsom's team. I mean, he has put in place the best team available to do this right now. And this is what has been needed. So comment what your thoughts are on this. Like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
The press conference today with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's victims was the most significant political and human interest story, not just of the day, but of the entire Trump presidency. This is the story. This is the situation that may help us reinstate the rule of law here in the United States of America. This is the story that is the political end of the village idiot Donald Trump's career. It doesn't mean it's the end of his presidency or his autocratic coup, but it is the end of Donald Trump politically. And most importantly, it is the story of the profound, silent, until today, resiliency of these heroic women who have suffered for decades because of wealthy, entitled, pretend, powerful, cowardly, moral-less men. And there were other incredibly important political stories today. There was Harvard kicking the shit out of Donald Trump's administration in court and winning. There was the dipshit Surgeon General of, I don't know if his title is Surgeon General, I don't know what it is, but the dipshit in Florida basically removing all vaccine mandates. It's a big day for polio and measles in Florida. It's a big win day for whooping cough and mumps and rubella. Go. There's the story about Democratic senators preparing to hammer RFK Jr. in an upcoming hearing. There is the story of the village idiot Donald Trump offering current New York City Mayor Eric Adams a job in his administration so he could bail out of the race and maybe give Cuomo a chance against Mamdani. Cuomo has no chance. There are a plethora of important stories and Trumpian distractions today from the actual most important news for the decency, the morality, the rule of law in the United States, and for our democracy. The most important story is these remarkable women who courageously spoke out today about their experiences at the hands of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And the most important political news of that entire story is the village idiot Donald Trump's reaction to what those women were doing without being aware of what they had said just moments before he reacted. After the Epstein victims press conference, during the village idiot's press conference, after he had just met with the president of Poland, when he was asked by a reporter about the release of the Epstein files, about the situation that was currently unfolding, the village idiot responded, and I'm just reading this, "A Democrat hoax that never ends." He once again referred to all of this as a hoax. Now, he had no idea. He had absolutely no idea that just a half an hour before he said that stupid statement, the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, who were the most powerful heroes that I have come across, that I have seen in a long time, who are so far above Donald Trump, who is so beneath the dignity of any of these women, they were asked the same question by a reporter. I'm going to read you some reporting right now from ABC News about what the Epstein victims said about Donald Trump calling this all a Democrat hoax. Quote, "This is not a hoax. It's not going away," said Marina Lacerda, a central witness in Epstein's 2019 indictment, who spoke with ABC News. Anuska DiGiorgio, the first survivor of Epstein and his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell, to step to the podium, said the victims are coming together to have their voices heard. The days, quote, "the days of sweeping this under the rug are over. We are survivors. Say no more," end quote. She said, quote, "I'm no longer weak. I am no longer powerless. I'm no longer alone. And with your vote, neither will the next generation," quote, she said. Quote, "President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us because we need it now and this country needs it now," end quote. Quote, "It's time for us to see behind the curtain. Why was Jeffrey Epstein so protected? Who is still being protected? And who protected them all? So the world can understand how Jeffrey Epstein was able to abuse so many for so long," end quote, said Courtney Wild, an Epstein survivor. Those comments, I don't know what's going on mainstream media today. I haven't watched cable news today. What should be happening is the village idiot repeating that this is a Democrat hoax should be juxtaposed against all of those comments that I just read to you, those clips of the survivors should be juxtaposed against the village idiots comment all over cable news all day and all night. I don't know if they're doing it, but they should be. And even if they're not, everybody knows. Everybody knows what transpired in that press conference. Everybody knows what the village idiots said. And I know, or I believe, that not only is this the most important story as it relates to the rule of law here in the United States, there is a reason also that the village idiot is covering this up. I believe that reason is that he is implicated, criminally implicated in some capacity for abusing these women that went through Jeffrey Epstein's nightmare. And I believe he's covering that up. And I believe, therefore, this is the most important political story of the moment. It's a scandal, the likes of which, it's right up there with Nixon. Right up there.
Bonjour, my darlings. Happy Thursday. Good morning, my darlings. How are you? Yeah, baby. We got a cup of coffee and darlings, like I said on the podcast, like I said on the card pull, ladies, let's effing go. Shall we? Darling, they took it too far. They took it too far, and they have activated millions of women, because the unfortunate thing about living in a country where they protect the men more than anything else, and the men who need constant protecting from the consequences of their own behavior use the people that they abuse as the shield. They're the ones that care about women and children. They're definitely the one. They're the only ones who care. All right. Those same ones right now are telling us to shut up. We're a hoax. We need to be sued for opening our mouths. We're going to ruin these billionaires' lives. We're going to ruin the lives of the people who did this to them. That's not fair. And darling, that tapped on a little nerve of millions of women in America who have heard that before. Myself included. See, that's the problem with letting these dudes run rampant and do whatever they want without consequences, with parents and pastors and political figures and lawyers that all go, don't ruin that young man's future. Don't ruin his future. You just grin and bear it. All right. It's time for the mothership. Like we said on the card pull and like we said on the podcast, the mothership, mother-ship has arrived. Millions of women are looking at each other right now going, okay, So it's time for us to step in and clean this up. We now see that we've let them play with this too long. We are at the point where grown men are saying they don't feel safe unless they're being followed by a Humvee. Meanwhile, children are supposed to take bulletproof packs in their backpacks because that's just the price of growing up in America, okay? And those are the same dudes who swear they care about children. You know, the same ones that want to send them to work and marry them. They're the ones that care so much, just like they care so much about women. They want to take your rights away. They're not counting the ones that are passing away from lack of medical access. They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to be able to get a divorce. And now men, straight men, not women that they like to call men, but the straight men can just burst into the bathroom and go check and see who has what. Again, those are the people who care about women and children first. Enough is enough. Okay. And yes, I saw the battery pack and Stinky Packet's jacket. I saw it. I believe y'all when they said he has that left ventricle thing put in. I believe that. But yeah, millions of women don't like being called liars and hoaxes, especially when we've been called that before whenever we talk about something someone did to us, and everyone gets real focused on protecting the diddler instead of us. You've got millions of women with a lot of packed up trauma that don't want to hear that shit right now. And darling, we ready to rise. Meanwhile, Tom Holzman is threatening to flood the cities again. And I just want to remind you that he said that about September 2nd. Remember? Parnas came on here and said, get ready, guys. Tuesday, the floods are coming. And I know they are releasing people. I know that raids are happening. But this thing where they're like, it's coming, you guys, and rawr, takeover. Did it happen? No. Just like Chicago, they keep backing out of that. They keep saying it. They keep putting it on Fox, putting white people going, I heard a pew pew out here. Like, isn't that what you guys love? I'm sorry, aren't kids supposed to go to school with those pew pews? But you're a grown man that's afraid of them, right? Again, this whole culture is them protecting themselves from their own cowardice and weakness. Them meaning the men that fall into the category. And yes, not all of them, but darling, we don't have the time to differentiate the good from the bad. Chances are, if you're still sitting there and you haven't felt compelled to say something, then you're not one of the emotionally evolved men yet. And you got some more work to do. These people were more upset over the change of a logo that had nothing to do with wokeness. No one was complaining about the logo. The company just did it. They didn't even say it had anything to do with it. But white people went, it's woke because you changed it. Like, they don't even know what woke means anymore. They're just making stuff up. They were more upset about that than what happened to the kids at that school. They were more upset about that than what's going on with the victims that are speaking. Those people, I live in Temecula, the people who are the defenders of women and children, all right, are focused on one trans kid at one middle school. Grown adults harassing a child, feeling big and bad that they bust people in from other cities to make one child feel uncomfortable. All right. That is the priority of the sheeple, steeple people and the conservatives. That's their priority. Spending money, being criminals, protecting diddlers. All right. And their newest excuse, Jeebus can use a diddler. He cures it. Okay. Just like diddling is no different than being a drunk. No, it's not, which is also them, which is also, it's not funny. It's not funny. These strong, superior men that need to be in charge of everything, that are offended by everything, constantly whining and crying and never want to be held accountable and hide behind the women and children that they are harming. Yeah, darling. Ladies, like I said, are we ready? Are we ready to clean this up, or we just gonna let them keep driving this right on over the cliff? Because you see now, you see now, right? What happens when you leave them in charge? Okay, I'm just saying.